He's now turned the ball over in 9 straight games, which leads the league. Here he is after losing to the Bucs.
I think overall, I just have to play better. I got to play better. I have a ton of opportunities to lead the offense and really play complementary ball, and it starts with me on that side of the ball. And I would get down like we did. We got to help. I have to help the defense out.
Does Philly have a Jalen Hurts problem?
Well, they have a lot of problems, but now he's one of them. They used to have problems other than him. Now he is one of their many problems. And we'll talk more about their many problems later in the show. But on Hurts, and Sirianni after the game tried to say, he's like, strip sacks don't count as fumbles. Essentially, and that's sometimes true. You know what I mean? There are certain times where there's instant blindside pressure and you don't hold against him. This ain't one of them. As my old partner Chris Carter used to say, where did you think the guy went? The guy who you avoided and went right behind you. Like, where did you think he went? And so, but it's not a 1 game or a 4 game thing. Since the Super Bowl, here is Jalen Hurts. 27 turnovers. He has played 22 games. Passer rating below average. Like, it's just... So my answer is yes, because he is paid like he is supposed to be part of the solution, and he is the most turnover-prone player in the NFL right now.
There's no denying it. Right now, he's a problem. You know, like he's just, as Nick said, since the Super Bowl, he hasn't played well. And when you look at his career, he's had his 4+ seasons. He's had 1 good/great year. That's it. Now, he hasn't fallen off like Carson Wentz, but he is struggling. He doesn't look confident, and we're going to get into Sirianni. Sirianni seems like he's lost his confidence as well when you watch him in the press conferences. But we're like, Jalen Hurts is blowing it right now. And I know, again, we can talk about the coaching. You want to talk about the offensive coordinator. Last year he had Brian Johnson, who was like a longtime family friend. That didn't work out. Now Kellen Moore, that's not working out. You look at the talent around him. He's got one of the best offensive lines in the league. I know the receivers were out yesterday.
Yeah.
Both of the top ones. But still, generally you got a great receiving core. You got one of the best running backs in the league, and he's not getting it done. So I think he can turn it around and play better. But just like people are looking at Sirianni and their defense and Vic Fangio, and you got to look at Hurts now too.
Yeah, you hear it in his voice at the press conference. Before, he always says the right thing. Before, there was conviction in his voice. I'm going to get this fixed. Now it's almost like he's looking for an answer to how he's going to get it fixed. And I'll just show you some more statistics that reinforce what Nick said. And it kind of reminds you of what they went through with Carson Wentz. When you look at his big season, his TD percentage, his interception percentage, and his turnovers, okay, high TD percentage.
8 turnovers
and then
all of that year.
You go to the next year. Now you're down in TD percentage, your interception percentage, same thing, and right on down the line, we're at 20 turnovers last year. In 2023, we're already at 7 this year in 2024.
Yeah, and I think those interception percentage numbers are transposed. It was 1.3 in 2022.
1.3, the 2.8.
And 2.8 last year.
Yeah, those should be flipped on the other side. But there's been this regression in every category, significant category, and they're just looking for answers. And then,
okay, so let's talk about this. I've already talked about this a little bit with the herd, and he's just not getting the context right here. Okay, so the question is does Philly have a Jalen Hurts problem? He's not a problem, but he's not the solution either. And there's a big difference between those. Jalen Hurts, of course, needs to play better, right? But when we look at those years, 22, he had Shane Steichen, an unbelievable offensive coordinator, so you're going to get the best out of your quarterback there, okay? Then the following year, a disaster of an offensive coordinator, right? And he was injured. Combine that, and that was just like, there was just nothing he was going to be able to do, okay? Now, he has Kellen Moore. Instantly looks better, especially in game 1, when the Eagles are full strength. They hang 30-plus points on the Packers, who are proving to be a great team, a top team. Obviously, they got beat pretty good by the Vikings, who are also a great team. And then everything goes bad. AJ goes down. Devontae goes down. The offensive line goes down. So this idea that there wasn't going to be an improvement this season, it's just not fair. It was a combination between Jalen needing to play better, but then also just really unfortunate circumstances, right? A series of misfortunate events. And now you're expecting Jalen Hurts, because you think Jalen Hurts is surrounded by talent, and it's like, they're missing over 60% of their offensive production in A.J. Brown and Devontae. You're taking away his wide receiver 1 and his wide receiver 2. And you're now taking away multiple linemen and multiple different linemen in different games. He was able to find a way against the Falcons. Or he made it work against the Falcons. He found a way against the Saints, who are the hottest team at the moment. And then now this game, he was unable to find a way because then their center goes down now, and now you're really shuffling people around. And it was like, it was a disaster from the jump. But to put that all on Jalen, because now they have a deficit, and that's not really Jalen Hurts' fault in a lot of ways, right? Like, you can blame him a little bit for like the 3 and out, but then the way how it was 3 and out, and they score 3 and out, and then they score again, and then the muffed punt. Right? And they were down 21-0 before Jalen Hurts really even got a chance to kind of like get situated. And now the defense, when you're up with that great, the defense is going to be able to just take your head off, right? The defense is just going to be able to come after you. And Todd Bowles is a great defensive mind. So he's going to be able to eat that up. Again, like I said, the O-line is hurt. There's nowhere for Jalen to go. When you're going to be getting attacked, at least you would have AJ, at least you would have Devontae, you would have somewhere. They didn't have that. So now Jalen is forced to try to make something out of nothing like that, the best of his abilities, and it just wasn't there for him. And again, I'm not going to say that he played great, but then now, right, that game just gets completely unraveled. Because once you have that lead, now the defense is exhausted. Like, now the Eagles' defense is exhausted. They're on the field nonstop. And it's just like, now the Bucs are going to be able to take advantage of that. Like, you literally had Eagles players throwing up, passing out, going in and out of the blue tent. I mean, that's all Brady was talking about. All the people were talking about. I mean, it felt like it was over 108 degrees. It was just sweltering. That's a tough spot. But this idea that Jalen Hurts should be able to magically find a way through all of this, it's just not fair. Stafford has no help. They talk about this all the time. He's down Puka Nacua. He's down Cooper Kupp. And he's got Sean McVay, one of the best offensive coaches in the NFL. What did he do? 0 touchdowns and an interception. A 77.4 rating, a fumble, and a 53.8 QBR. What did Hurts have? An 85.1 rating, 56.9 QBR. Right? Like, and he's, again, Matthew Stafford's a better quarterback. And Sean McVay is a better head coach. What did Justin Herbert do? 179 yards. Okay? He has no help right now either. Also dealing with injuries. Pro Football Focus had him at a 56.6 offensive rating, whereas Jalen Hurts was also low, but 51.3. So again, within range. Patrick Mahomes missing all these pieces, right? He's missing everyone. Everyone's now injured for Mahomes. What did he do? He had a 89 rating and a 63.7 QBR. Again, below average, as Nick put it. Right in range with Jalen Hurts. He had 1 touchdown and 1 interception for Mahomes. So again, my point is not to say that Jalen Hurts is equal to them, but to act like Jalen Hurts should be able to overcome that with inferior coaching, and obviously not the level of talent as Mahomes. It's just not fair. You're putting too much on this quarterback's plate, and really just the Philadelphia offense as a whole right now. And again, listen to what Colin Cowherd had to say about the Rams.
It can't look like that. I mean, the Rams, we got to be honest here. No Puka Nacua, no Cooper Kupp, offensive lines in disarray. They got no bullets. They have no playmakers.
So, exactly. So if you're not expecting the Rams to be able to find a way with Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, why is that not work? Like, what? I don't understand. That's where it's so inconsistent. Now, I'll give Nick Wright credit for being consistent and inconsistent, because he tried to hold Purdy's feet to the fire. And again, I've been consistent. I've said, when you don't have these weapons, when you don't have these issues, when you're down your O-line, when you're down, weapons, what are you supposed to do? And I said, before Brock Purdy succeeded, I said, if he doesn't play good, what do you want him to do? He's down all his weapons. You want him to magically overcome that? So the same thing about Matthew Stafford. So the same thing about Justin Herbert. right? I'm very consistent. But then that's where Nick Wright then deviates, because he said when it was the Cowboys going up against the Baltimore Ravens, he said, well, if Dak doesn't have, because at this point CD was questionable. And he said, oh, if Dak doesn't have CD, I don't give the Cowboys a chance. I give them no chance. So that's just missing one receiver in CD. But now the Eagles are missing multiple receivers, big time, A.J. Brown and Devontae and Lane Johnson, one of the greatest to ever do it, right? Missing a lineman here and then the center there. And you're expecting him to be able to overcome all that. And I don't see how. I don't see where the consistency lies in that regard. Right? I listened to Colin Cowherd's podcast as well, where he talked about Justin Herbert and he talked about the Rams, and he's like, they just don't have any bullets. The Rams got smoked by the Cardinals. They got decimated by the Cardinals, and Matthew Stafford did nothing against them. Nothing. They put up like no points, did nothing. But it was like, what are you going to do? He doesn't have anyone. Yeah, it's amazing that Philly at least has, Saquon Barkley. But it's just like, that's a tough game to really rely on Saquon too because of the heat. I mean, he had, once he went on a couple big runs, it was like you could tell he needed breaks. He needed to get out of the game. He could not stomach the load. It was just too much. So yeah, that was definitely a tough loss for Philly. But my whole thing is, and we'll probably talk about it later, so that's why I'm not sure if I'll be able to see it. But with Philly, this is not the complete team. If they got beat like this with A.J. Brown on the team and Devontae, or even just a healthy O-line, then I would say, yeah, this is a major, massive problem. But I want to judge this team based on when they're healthy. When they were fully healthy, they won the game. And they looked really good in a really tough week 1 game on a slippery field in Brazil. Okay? Jalen Hurts looked sharp. Him and AJ and Devontae, they got those connections. Again, you're taking away his receivers. I don't know what you want him to do. Literally, the Patrick Mahomes struggles in those circumstances, and he's got Andy Reid. And yet he's still able to succeed to some degree. But again, that's the Patrick Mahomes. And yet Patrick Mahomes keeps going down. Patrick Mahomes has 5 interceptions in 4 games. That's a pretty bad trend. And he could be more than that. He has 7 turnover-worthy plays in the 4 games that he's played. Patrick Mahomes. And again, it would be more if there wasn't for some of the key flags that happen as he's throwing interceptions. Those things matter. And again, Jalen Hurts absolutely needs to do better. And this is where I've been very consistent saying also, move on from Sirianni. But we've never really got to see what Kellen Moore was able to do with this offense except for week 1. Week 1, high-powered offense. Put up points. They put up points. They looked really good. It wasn't perfect, but they looked really good. They were ready to roll. Then they just got injuries. And if Herbert struggles to overcome it, if Purdy struggles to overcome it, if Patrick Mahomes struggles to overcome it, Matthew Stafford struggles to overcome it, I don't understand why we're expecting Jalen Hurts to overcome it. That's where it doesn't make sense. If you want to blame the Eagles defense as a whole, or the Eagles team as a whole for not maybe being better defensively or not, but again, this is a tough game because they were able to hold their own defensively for the last 2 games. But then this game, again, the defense was on their back foot away, and then in that heat, when they're on the field by the second quarter, honestly the end of the first quarter, that defense is just gassed. Like I said, they were literally passing out and getting cramps. I mean, they were struggling so badly that it was just like, once you're like that, I mean, come on, it's a runaway. There's just nothing. They're just not going to be able to really do anything, and you could see it, quite frankly. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what the Eagles look like post-bye. I was hoping that they would just fire Sirianni during the bye. They probably won't do that. But I think once everyone's healthy, that's when this Philly team, you get to really evaluate them. Just like I wasn't really evaluating the Packers without Jordan Love or the 49ers without Christian McCaffrey, without Debo, without Kittle. It's the same thing for the Eagles. It's the same thing for the Chiefs. I even said this about the Chiefs. I said, yeah, we can't even really know who the Chiefs are right now because by the time the playoffs start, is Brown going to be back? Is Pacheco going to be back? Rice probably won't be back. But I'm just like, we don't really actually even know who the Chiefs are right now. So you just don't know what a team looks like. And some teams are going to be able to be more resilient. Some quarterbacks are going to be able to be more resilient. And sometimes it's just too much to ask. You know, when Patrick Mahomes had no offensive line, he got ravaged in the Super Bowl. It's just what happens to quarterbacks. You need weapons to throw to, and you need an O-line. It's that simple. A quarterback needs that. Needs it, no matter who you are. No matter who you are, no matter how great your coach is. You can only do so much. You can find a way in a game here and there, like we saw Stafford do with Sean McVay, like we saw Purdy do with Shanahan, like we saw Jalen Hurts do with Kellen Moore or Sirianni, whoever we want to give the credit to. You just can't regularly, consistently do it unless you have a top-level defense. And that's how the Chiefs have been able to survive. Because their defense has been legit. Their defense is able to hold the Chargers to 10 points. Right? Make Joe Burrow and the Bengals uncomfortable. Make Lamar Jackson uncomfortable. That's what makes the Chiefs such a special team. So, yeah. Interesting stuff. I'm really curious to see where this goes, how long Sirianni lasts, and what's the story with also AJ Brown when he returns. Is he actually going to be fully healthy? Is he going to be one of those things where he's healthy for a game or two and then he like tweaks it? Those are all things I'm looking to see. It seems like all the other injuries should be fine. Concussions, I mean, not saying that concussions are fine, but shouldn't technically have any lingering issues, at least not to my knowledge. So I think post-bye in like 10 days or whatever it ends up being, though, because I forget exactly when their next game is. That's where you're going to be able to evaluate them significantly better. And I imagine that the Eagles will be significantly better. And if they're still playing like this when everyone's full strength, well then yeah, then there's some serious issues. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Philadelphia Eagles? Do you think they have a Jalen Hurts problem? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.